Today, we will look at the yellow snake breaking out of its shell, 黄蛇出壳 in Mandarin. And this one tends to be taught and practiced with the feet together. There's only one form, but it has 3 parts. If standing like this for you feels like it is hard to balance, it's difficult on your hamstrings or your back, for whatever we are working with today, if it makes more sense to have the feet separated, please, by all means, do that. So we're looking at the snake's ability to transform and its skin sensitivity, its overall ability to help us really honor and guard our human capacity to be snake-like in sensitivity, receptivity, embodiment. These help us transform difficulty and use opportunities that are challenging to break free, to access more wisdom, to have greater insight and understanding about what's actually going on. The hands in this form for part 1 are interlaced, also for part 2 and part 3. And just as a suggestion, there's always a thumb on top that feels more natural for people. And then there's the opposite, which will feel a bit weird. I mix it up just so I get more used to something that is not my default. If that appeals to you, you can also try that and alternate out the clasp of the hands and which thumb is on top. The movement, part 1, is going to involve lifting the hands, feet together or apart, towards the sky with the palms turned up. Now again, all of us have different ranges of movement in our shoulders, different histories of injury. So you be the determinant of your snake's sensitive receptors and adjust accordingly. Then we're going to be turning towards one direction as you exhale. Inhaling back to center. Exhaling the other direction. Inhaling center. Right? And I could go longer with my arms, but I want to also be my sensitive snake. If I pushed all the way up to my maximum, I might not feel that receptive and sensitive. I might actually be a little bit more stressed. So I'm just going to go to where I can maintain sensitivity, not over clasping my hands. So when that form finishes, the hands will come down in front of the front body. Just as the snake starts breaking out of its egg, that movement, side to side like this, is getting to know what's happening inside my shell. And I'm curious now about what's above me. What is my center? We'll repeat that a few times, side to side. And then floating the hands back down. As much as possible, let the turning not turn your knees like I'm showing here, but to keep the lower body more stable and turn more from your waist. So it's a rotation that rings a little bit out through your whole spine. You can start the turn from your tailbone, each direction. So that's part 1 of the snake breaking out of its shell. You release, you can relax your hands. Part 2 is kind of fun. I like it in that it starts the same way as part 1, goes up. Then, as the snake in your shell, you're going to get curious about the front. You're going to start moving forward and feel for the inner lining of the shell, all the way down to the base of the egg. And then the hands face your body, your front body, and they hover. So from the side, it's looking like this. I'm not going to touch my snake skin, but I'm hovering in front of the legs, the belly, the chest, and then I go back up, staying sensitive and receptive. So again, not pushing to my maximum reach, nor reaching to my maximum, which might, again, shut down some of my receptivity. So I'm going to just back up to really feeling knowing, able to breathe. That's going to repeat. You can do anywhere between 3 and 6 rounds each direction. Then it reverses. I'm going to come from going forward and up the front body to going down the front body, and then feeling from the lower part of the egg to the upper part of the egg. Yeah. And notice what I did just there. I didn't go to where I could. I could go all the way down here, and sometimes that feels good. I'm not that warmed up necessarily, so I'm just going to go here. That's the bottom of my egg. For you, it might be here. Keeping the gate of sensitivity really open to be aware. So we'll do a few each direction of that one. That's part 2. You release. Then you switch the interlace of the hands once more. And then part 3. Starts the same as part 1 and part 2. You begin lifting towards the sky. This time though, snake's going to get curious about either side and slowly circling towards one edge of that side of the egg and down over to the other side and up, breathing in or out. Remember, we're going slow, being sensitive, so if you need extra breaths, do that, or you could have a long exhalation going down, a long inhalation coming up. Then it reverses, and we go the other way a few times. I won't show it here because we're going to do that together in practice. But one more thing, in addition to letting the feet come wider, you can also not go as far down. This is really strengthening, by the way, and very centering. This guardian is about staying centered, staying very connected to ease of when we feel centered rather than scattered and kind of uprooted or up-earthed, unearthed. So you could feel that strength of center with the feet apart. It's a little bit easier. It's also about balance. And definitely bend your knees if that means it's going to be better for your back, right? Or for your hamstrings. You don't want to, again, push the body into a place where it begins a more fearful response. You want to stay open and receptive, embodied and sensitive to your experience. So just to demonstrate, if I were to come up, move over, but decide I wanted to be a snake that bends its knees, I would bend my knees coming down, keep my knees bent, and then start to straighten them as I come up. When part 2 finishes, I forgot, we can do this after we're going up, down, and then up, down. It finishes with a snake up and then feeling for the front edge, feeling for what's in front of this shell, what's outside in this wider world that's waiting for me. What am I going to meet as I transform and break out of my egg? Now part 3, we go round and round to the outer shell, to the sides, and then when you finish on the upward movement, you're going to break free and pop out. Maybe like stick your tongue out like a snake. Look around. Told you we'll have fun doing these guardian animals, right? And then you are free as your snake to transform, continue your sensitivity, but out of the shell into the world. So let's do our practice together. I'll see you in a moment.